Bitcoin has no top because fiat has no bottom. You know, that's the reality. You know, it's a famous Max Kaiser quote. You know, and you know, this is where I like to kind of refer to the geniuses of this space, the likes of Jeff Booth, who have spent countless hours really diving into the intricacies of what Bitcoin is. And the way he explains that today's true inherent value of one Bitcoin is actually $43 million. It's not 100,000, it's 43 million, which sounds absolutely crazy. But the way that we get to that is the realization that this 900 trillion in addressable, the marketplace of addressable market of assets worldwide, everything, currency, stocks, bonds, real estate, you name it, 900 trillion, where people are trying to store their value, and Bitcoin is repricing all of it. When you take 900 trillion and you divide it by the supply of Bitcoin, which we know is only ever going to be a maximum of 21 million, you get 43 million in today's purchasing power, in today's dollars. Are we there yet? No, we're not yet there yet, because the marketplace hasn't woken up to it. But because Bitcoin is the world's first and only truly global free market, which is inherently deflationary, meaning that when you store your time and energy in Bitcoin, over the course of time, the price of everything around you goes down, not up. So it's the opposite of the system that everybody's living in. This is the reality. This is the realization where we start to go, wow, there is no top for Bitcoin. You know, whether it's 100x in the next 10 years, or again, Peter talks about, 1,000x in the next 15. I mean, these guys, they are titans of the Bitcoin space. They have done the work on Bitcoin at a far deeper level than I could ever do. And these are the kind of numbers that these guys talk about, because they understand what Bitcoin is. They understand that it's going to reprice everything. It's going to absorb all of the financial premium out of all of these other asset classes. I mean, you can't tell me that the price of real estate right now is in line with its true value. The way that real estate has been financialized, and we think about all of the layers of wasted premium that go into the price of a house now. You know, the taxes, the stamp duty, the agent fees, the legal fees. You know, all of that stuff is built into the price of a home, but it doesn't represent the value of the home. You know, and if people could just understand that in real estate, yes, you got a house that's being sold for, $1 million, but what's that house really worth? And it's not worth $1 million. It's just what the price is in today's market, but it doesn't represent its true utility value. And so Bitcoin is what brings truth and honesty to this structure, because you start, it basically just takes everything to the marginal cost of production, to its utility value, because we have entrepreneurship, we have competition, we have economies of scale, we have technology, we have all of these things that are true representations of a global free market that constantly are driving prices down, not up. And so the answer to your question, Brandon, is that, when people say, oh, I'm too late, you guys got in early, I didn't get in early to Bitcoin. I mean, shit, I bought some Bitcoin in 2018. The last bit of Bitcoin I bought was last week. I'm still buying Bitcoin. It's like, you just got to understand and zoom out and look at the reality that Bitcoin is up and to the right forever, because it is going to continue to demonetize all of the currencies, the real estate market, stocks, bonds, shares. It's just going to eat everything because it's designed to do that, And so, I kind of encourage people to not look at the dollar value so much. Yes, I know it's difficult. People want to know, oh, am I only going to get access to, 0.1 of a Bitcoin or 0.01, or I've missed the boat because Bitcoin's now $100,000. I'm better off going and buying, X million XRP or wherever it is, because there's this unit bias thing that kicks into people's psychology. But I just encourage people to not look at it that way. Just look at it in terms of a chunk of dollars that you're putting into Bitcoin that's going to perform at 40 to 50% over the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it might be. And don't so much think necessarily about, how much Bitcoin that's bought you. Think in terms of how many bags of Satoshis, for $10,000 right now, you can buy, that's 0.1. So you can buy 10 million sats. There's going to come a time when 10 million sats is parity with the dollar. Now, it might not be in our lifetime, but it is going to happen. So it's just a case of zooming out, understanding that Bitcoin is here to reprice the world. It's actually doing it. You can go back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years and price anything you like in Bitcoin, right? And the more you do that, the more your the light bulb switches on. You develop your conviction. You realize that that this is what's happening. This is what it was designed to do, and it's just going to keep happening, because they're not going to stop expanding the money supply, which basically means that all of that extra liquidity that's floating around is always going to be looking for a home to park itself in. So it's going to park itself in goods and services, and then up the ladder, it's going to park itself in the stock market, and then up the ladder, it's going to park itself in scarce, desirable real estate. But at the apex is Bitcoin, which is the most scarce. So it's going to absorb the most of that financial energy. And that's how I see it, man. And it's a process to get people to understand all of that. But yeah, it's all part of the learning journey.
I love when you have people fighting over, is it going to be $450 trillion? That's the market cap of the total addressable market, or is it 900 trillion? I know Jeff Booth is saying 900 trillion. Jack Muller's saying 450. It's one half of every transaction. So I love that. I'm not the guy. It's not above my pay grade to figure out who's right. But suffice it to say, like you said, there's massive opportunity in there. For someone getting in now, and I was talking to Parker Lewis about that recently, and the theme of his talk, it's not even out yet, but the theme of that talk is closing your bank account will help you retire early. And it's obviously a play on words, but people have to understand, like, using dollars or using fiat currencies are just making you poor. And it goes back to the little EDM house song that the rapper or the DJ made about Michael Saylor. Saving in fiat currency is, we call you poor. We have a word for you, when he snapped on that lady when he was doing the interview. And it's kind of that point where it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why is this still this conversation? Like, there's so much information available. How are people not seeing this? With all that being said, though, do you think, because Jeff Booth always talks about this as well, and I think it's a great caveat, meaning, hey, I'm right. I've done the homework. I'm right. But there's a caveat. If Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, because we know if it keeps going the way it is, stays decentralized and secure, it's going to do the things you have outlined here, Zane. It's going to do these things because it's mathematically designed to go up, because it's perfectly finite, opposite of the fiat system. How do we know, though, and I'm sure you get this question because I get it. I see it in YouTube comments. I'm sure you get it in YouTube comments, whether it's there's fair distribution or they're going to print more, things of that nature. How do you combat that when someone's saying that to you as a family or friend, or you're getting it on YouTube? What are you directing them to? How are you teaching someone that's having these questions of, yeah, but there's going to be the next one. There's going to be it won't last forever. Governments will, they'll rug pull you at some point. When you're kind of crossing some of these objections, how do you handle them?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually don't handle them. Most of the time, the people I kind of engage with, they're already, they've already at the base level of having done the work, and they're like, yeah, we love this. We just know that we could be doing more. We need to get our retirement account involved in this. Where do we go to get that done? How do we stack more? What's a great strategy? Is it dollar cost average? Is it rotating out of other underperforming assets? It's So it's I can't really answer that, man, because I just don't tend to engage too deeply with those objections. I always revert to encouraging people just to learn about money, and I think once they learn about money, which we've kind of already discussed, and all the pitfalls of it, it kind of naturally opens up the question, well, what now? And then that causes people to go on a hunt to learn more about Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not the most technical guy when it comes to the inner workings of the Bitcoin protocol. I mean, I spend time looking in the mempool and understanding the blocks, and when transactions are moving, it's interesting to watch in real time. If you're transferring values somewhere, it's great to do all that. That's kind of next level stuff that people will naturally get to on their Bitcoin journey. But I think just knowing that those tools exist, where you can actually,
it's open source, everything's available.
Yeah, you can actually dive in to the blockchain. When you run your own node, and you realize that you actually have a copy of the entire thing, of every transaction that there's ever been, and you've got access to that. This is all accessible. This is open source. This is what Bitcoin's designed to be. Don't trust, verify. And so, but I think we've got to be careful not to go into too many high level conversations with people who are sort of just trying to attack Bitcoin and go after it because maybe, it's an out clause for them to actually put in the work themselves. I mean, you and I both know that there are so many levels to this thing, so many rabbit holes you can go down, and maybe those objections are easily answered if you kind of start unpacking, but it's kind of difficult in the social media world, YouTube. I just find that, if I'm having a conversation with somebody who's absolutely new to Bitcoin, just wanting to learn about it, I think there's some phenomenal resources out there, which we've already touched on, that I tend to point people to, just to get them thinking about the problems with money, why it's broken, and then to kind of assess their own personal life through that lens. Understanding, well, yeah, money is broken. I never really thought of that. Never really thought that my house has only really just kept up with inflation. I never really thought that there's a lot of wasted premium in real estate. I've never really thought that every time a bank issues a mortgage, they're just creating new debt, which is basically driving inflation. They're not borrowing it off you and I as depositors. They're just basically producing a new, bunch of currency out into the marketplace. And of course, this is why we see real estate prices going up, because it's continually being driven by inflation. So look, the objections are, I don't have time for them, to be honest with you. I mean, I just keep moving on. I'm more interested in talking to people who want to learn, want to grow. I know the objections are always natural for us to have in the beginning. But I think a lot of the people who kind of just shoot from the hip and say, oh, the government's going to ban it, or it's bad for the environment, or it's a Ponzi scheme, or Bitcoin's going to zero, buy XRP instead. You know, they're just people who are trying to ruffle your feathers, having a bad day, haven't done the work, you know, and they need to do that, because if you're able to have a conversation with them from a base of, okay, I've read the big print, or I've listened to some of these documentaries on YouTube, and okay, now I'm curious, right? And if they came from a place of being curious, well, then you can show them, okay, now let's have a look at the blockchain. Now let me show you how you can actually see transactions, how you can, you know, not just trust that this is happening, but this is real. You can verify, you know, but that's high level stuff that most people are not ready for, particularly people who are haven't done the work, you know.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.